We just got a surprise update for College Football 25. And while this was a very tiny update, it might be the most important update of the year so far, depending on who you ask. Sometimes the small updates bring the big change that a lot of people have been asking for. Now, I'm going to go over some of the things that happened in this update and also let you know what is coming soon, because there are some big things coming soon for the game. But if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn the bell icon on, because we're going to get multiple updates for this game every month for the next few months, and you don't want to miss out on any of those important videos. You know, more than half of you that watch the videos aren't even subscribed, so you could be missing out on some very important info the second that it drops. Now, I've spoken about this before, but we usually get two types of updates for these games. We get the one big title update usually every month. We got that about a week or so ago. And then in between that, we'll get one, sometimes two, very, very small updates that fix a few problems with the games. And sometimes it'll actually add something new. And that is what happened today. We had a few things that were fixed, and they also added something huge that people have been begging for and been complaining about since the game dropped. Now, I don't think they're going to put out any actual patch notes for this because it was such a tiny update. Maybe they will on their forums later, but I know the few things that have changed, and there may be a couple other things, so if you know of anything else, you can drop it below. But let's talk about the big one right out of the gate. You can now finally edit the jersey numbers of the non-NIL players, which is huge for Dynasty mode. You can now edit the recruit numbers so that once you're a few years into Dynasty and all of your players are non-NIL players, you have full customization over them for the most part now. Except for appearance. I don't think you can edit appearance, but you can edit name, numbers, and ratings now. So let's take a look here in a dynasty that I just simmed through. Now, this is one of my players right here, an incoming freshman, a quarterback. And if we see, we're going to go to edit player, and you'll see we can edit his name, of course, which was always a thing. We can edit the name, but now we can actually edit his jersey number. Now, I don't know if there's any restriction to this. I think there could be, because I did tell you in a previous video that I heard the rumor was that this was going to be coming soon, that they were working on this. And that leads me to believe that there could be some type of limitation with it. And the only reason that I say that is because they already have this in Madden. This is not something they had to reinvent the wheel on. They have this in all of their sports games, and they have for decades. This isn't something that they had to recreate out of nowhere. So what I'm wondering is if maybe a player opted out of the game. Let's say Arch Manning opted out, for example. He is in the game, but let's just say that he did actually opt out. Maybe they would make it to where if you're editing a non-NIL quarterback on Texas, that you couldn't give him number 16. That's what I'm thinking. I'd have to go in and test that. But most players did opt into the game, so it probably wouldn't be something we'd run into a whole lot. But that's the only reason I could think that this wouldn't be ready and that they would have to actually go in and make changes to it. Because the reality is, the only reason we were not able to edit numbers in the first place, it had something to do with NIL, and we're not going to know what the exact reason was because they're not going to come out and tell us that. And when I've spoken on this in past videos, all I could do was give speculation or assume things because they were never going to come out and tell us. But the one thing we did know is it was something to do with NIL, because this has been a feature in all of their games for multiple decades now. It's not something they were purposely holding back from us. And so what I thought it might have been was that maybe they made a deal with teams or players that said, hey, if you don't opt in, we will not allow people to be able to fully recreate you, in which case they would have had to limit something, which would either be the names or the numbers, because if you can change the names and you can change the numbers, well, then you could simply find recruits that look close enough like the real life player who opted out, and you can essentially recreate them in the game. And my thought on this was maybe they decided to restrict numbers over names because there's probably way more casual players that would like to put their self inside of Dynasty mode under their real name, whereas the more hardcore players, they'd much rather change the numbers if you give them the choice. So they probably went with not allowing people to create the numbers because more people would want to put themselves as their real name inside of a Dynasty mode. But now that this has finally been put in the game, it appears that that maybe isn't in the case because, well, we can do that now. Unless they just have number restrictions at a position if a player did opt out of the game, but we don't really know that until we test it further. Now, the other thing that I assumed it could be was that maybe they were just simply being overprotective, which maybe that was the case. Maybe their legal team was like, let's just hold this back and let's see how things go. Because at the end of the day, the reason this game went away was because of the name, image, and likeness. They got sued. And even though we can do these creations in other games and they never get in trouble, maybe they were a little worried about this game coming back, having a target on its back, people looking for reasons to throw out BS lawsuits. Even if they couldn't technically sue them all the way through this, it still would have been something they had to deal with. So maybe the legal team was like, you know what, let's just hold this back for a little bit and let's just kind of see what happens first. Again, this is me assuming, I don't know, but now that it's in the game, that's the only other thing that would make sense, is that they were indeed being overprotective with it it. And then I guess after so many people complained about it, they said, you know what? Let's just push it through and give it to them. I don't know. I'm just trying to make sense of it because there's one reason or another why it wasn't there. The fact that this is in all of their other games, they didn't purposely just hold it back from this game, especially knowing how important customization is in a game like this. They didn't just hold this back for no reason. Now we're going to continue on with some of the other things that changed, plus some of the things that are coming. But really quickly, I want to mention that we are still sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. If you like sports and you like winning money, then you've got to be on Underdog Fantasy playing their pick'em game. All you got to do is pick higher or lower on a wide variety of player stats, and if they hit, you can win some good money. And the best part is they're going to always give you a free pick and bonus cash at sign up. So for tonight's game, for example, they're going to give you Aaron Rodgers to get a single yard, which means all you have to do is get 1 yard and that's it, you win. And it's a free play, so even like last year when he got hurt on the first play of the game, it doesn't matter, they're going to give you the free play anyway. That's how it works. For Thursday night's game, they're going to give you Josh Allen to get a single yard, and then on Sunday, they're going to give you Caleb Williams to get a single yard. And no matter when you sign up, even if it's weeks from now, there's going to always be a 1 yard free play special just like this for you to take advantage of. And if you sign up using my code RAY, R-A-Y, they'll also give you up to $1,000 in bonus cash at sign up, and you just simply can't beat that. Now, the other big thing that was addressed in this update was the bug that happened about a week ago when they pushed the last update through, where you couldn't hot route running backs on play action, which was horrible because a lot of people like to use play action plays, but sometimes they like to block the running back or put him on a route because the play action play itself has good routes on it. For some reason, there was a bug where you couldn't hot route the running back on PA plays, but that is now fixed. I'm glad that they got that fix in quick. And that's one thing I will say about the college team. It seems like when something breaks or something happens that was not expected, it seems like they do address it pretty quickly for the most part. They did the same thing with the scoreboard disappearing bug a while back. They've also gone in and fixed up a lot of the dynasty issues that the game launched with. So they've been pretty quick to attack some of these problems, and they've already added a decent amount of new content to the game, a lot of plays, a lot of uniforms, and some of the customization and editing. So I think if nothing else, they're pretty on top of getting things fixed and addressing what the community wants very quickly, which is not only good for this game, but the future of the franchise, as when the following games come, we should get more of the things that we're continuing to ask for. Now, another small issue that I heard was addressed was something to do with the Nike socks. Apparently they were appearing on all teams even when they weren't supposed to. So I was told that that was addressed in this update supposedly. Another small thing I saw somebody mention was that the Nebraska crowd has been updated as well. It's more red than it was before because at the Nebraska games, apparently most people wear red in the crowd, but before it was more of a mixed crowd. So you can see now more of a sea of red. So they did update that. They may have made some of these types of updates in other stadiums as well. I don't know because there's no patch notes. So if you do know of any other stadiums or little things like this that might have changed for your team, definitely drop them in the comments below. I also saw somebody else mention that you can now change the numbers of your Road to Glory player even after creating them. I haven't played Road to Glory this year, so I don't know, but apparently once you created the player and you started the mode, you couldn't go in and change the number. And you know, players do change their numbers a lot in college, so that's a feature that people wanted. I saw somebody mention that you can now change that, so that is a pretty good thing as well. Now, in terms of what's coming in the next big title update, we definitely know some things that they are working on. They're still looking at addressing defense a little bit, probably tightening up the zone coverage, but we know something that they're definitely working on gameplay wise is the route stem glitch. Now, they did attempt to fix this in a previous update, and they did the same thing with Madden. However, there was a workaround to this that people found pretty quickly to where you can still do the route stem glitch. So that is going to be addressed soon. They also said that they're going to be looking into some of the ways people are just using the route stems altogether in terms of which routes you're able to stem and maybe even the depth at which you're able to stem them. So maybe they're going to go in and tweak it because they realized, hey, we gave people maybe a little too much freedom with this and people are finding easy ways to exploit it. So I think they're going to be addressing some of that soon for college as well. They're going to also be adding more plays and formations to the game. That's something they've done in every update. And from what I've been told, they're going to continue doing that. They're going to continue building out the playbooks to be even better, which I love. Always want new content added to the game. We know we're getting a bunch more uniforms. We should expect this in pretty much every single update. And I know some people are asking, like, where is this certain uniform or that one? The guy that does the uniforms and the equipment has been on Twitter over the week responding to people, and he's confirmed that there are a lot of uniforms that you guys have been asking for that are coming soon. And I think the reason that they don't all go in at the same time are a few different reasons. Number one, the team has to sign off on them. Some teams do not want the uniforms in the game until they wear them in real life. For certain uniforms, EA can create them on the spot and pretty much get them in the game almost right away. But for certain uniforms, they have to actually get stuff back from the universities. If it's like a certain special font or a special thing that they use on their uniform that isn't already in EA's database, they have to kind of wait on the team to send that stuff over so they can get the exact accurate scan from the uniform itself. Also, some teams just don't want certain uniforms in the game because they're not currently wearing them. But also on top of that, there is like a cutoff point for when these updates come out. So if they're creating new uniforms and putting them in, at a certain point they have to cut off whatever's going in the next update. They have to stop and they have to actually submit the update, because usually it'll take some time to get approved by Sony and Microsoft and go through the other channels that it has to go through before it comes out. So that's why you don't just see every uniform coming at once, because some of it is waiting on teams and some of it is just simply they're creating, and then there is a cutoff point where they have to submit it, and then the next batch comes out with the next update. But we do know some big ones that are coming, because the equipment guy did confirm this on Twitter. The FIU Miami Vice is on the way soon. The Black and Slime USF jerseys, the Oklahoma throwbacks, which I thought were supposed to be in this previous update, but I think they got pushed to the next one, or they just didn't make it into this one somehow. Those should be coming. Also, the Boston College bandana ones are coming. Supposedly, he confirmed that these are all coming. He said all of these will be in the game. Don't know if it's going to be for the very next update or maybe the one that follows, but do know that all of these are coming. I believe the Miami All Blacks are coming as well. I think there's some new Kansas jerseys that are coming into the game as well. So if you're a uniform guy, there's a lot more coming. There's also going to be more player and roster updates to the game throughout the year as well. That's going to be pretty big. I mean, we see guys like Ashton Genty, the way he's playing for Boise State, his overall is going to be going up pretty high soon. He'll probably get some new abilities as well, or some higher tiered abilities. So you're going to be seeing more updates to rosters and players being added to the game, which is going to be great as well. Now, if you want to see all the stuff that was added in the last update, from the new players to the new uniforms, the new plays and everything else, make sure to check out this video right here on the screen.